Monday on Get Up, and we run the hurry up. Deshaun Watson threw 2 interceptions. Jacoby Brissett threw 4 touchdowns. Colts a statement win over the Texans. Dan Orlovsky, which quarterback is playing better right now?
This is a serious question.
Yes.
Deshaun Watson. Listen, Jacoby Brissett is having a nice season, but Deshaun Watson is in the short list of MVP candidates. He has done everything. He's a highlight reel every single play that he has the football, which is every single play. Deshaun Watson.
Fair enough. Let's go to the next one. Rookie quarterback Kyler Murray leading the Cardinals to their 3rd straight win. That's as many as they had all of last year, and he outduels fellow rookie Daniel Jones. What are you seeing from Kyler?
The biggest thing that I've seen from Kyler that's been nice is the pocket presence. Like, he has moments yesterday where, okay, I'm going to go run, and then he's decided to hang in there and make a play with his arm down the field. And then this run game's gotten going a little bit for him. But his growth as a pocket passer in the NFL and hanging in there, especially on 3rd downs, yesterday was so impressive. He's on a great stretch of about 5 weeks right now.
Cardinals sort of on the come. Meanwhile, the Saints are phenomenal. They're 5-0 without Drew Brees. Teddy Bridgewater yesterday threw for 281 and 2 touchdowns in a win over the Bears that was not nearly as close as the final score would suggest. Bears got 2 garbage time touchdowns. This was a blowout win. And so the Saints, without Brees, currently sit at the number 2 seed in the loaded NFC. There are 6 teams 5-2 or better. The defending conference champions Rams are sitting behind all of that, as you can see. They sit 8th in the conference. The Rams are 8th in the conference, and they're pretty good. You see the Bears on the outside looking in as well. And I want to give credit to Elle, because in our meeting this morning, we were just talking about the Bears. And Elle, you looked up and said, can we talk about how good the Saints are at all on the show? So right now, who's the best team in the NFC?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to have to say the 49ers. And the reason I say that is their defense is playing like the Bears were supposed to.
Yeah.
That's this defense right here. They are dominating people, and they have a dominant running game. I love their coach. Even though he's an offensive guy, he's old school offensive guy. I think, to me, if I'm taking one team to represent the NFC, I'll take them.
I'd say the Saints are the best team in football, not in just the NFC, the whole NFL. I think what we're realizing is this is a team that is drafted really well. We can talk all we want about Drew Brees' injury. I said this 3 weeks ago. This defense is in the conversation for one of the best defenses in the league right now. And we are starting to see that Sean Payton is the Hall of Fame coach that many thought he was. And he's the 2nd best coach in football right now, that he has overcome and overcome and overcome. Yesterday, he goes into Soldier Field, one of the best defenses in the NFL, a difficult place to play in different weather, without his quarterback, without Alvin Kamara. And how many teams in the NFL can say that they lose their 2 best players and don't lose? Like, the Saints are the best team in football right now.
I mean, I think that's fair, but we just sat 20 minutes ago and said that the most complete team playing right now, particularly in the NFC, is the Packers, right? Because, yes, they're winning with Teddy Bridgewater, are the Saints, and I get that. They have half a roster and whatnot, but you bring Drew Brees back in. He's still tickling 40 years old, right? So, you assume there's going to be a little of a rest period. If the Packers start rolling now and continue to roll, how can they be stopped?
Well, I think the reality is this. That as you get deeper into the playoffs, you start to see coaches separate themselves. Matt LaFleur has done an outstanding job in Green Bay, and he has become a better coach from week 1 to week 6, as good as anyone in the NFL right now. But once this season gets to the back end of November and December, and I love Matt LaFleur, he's a friend of mine, but I'm going Sean Payton right now.
Sure.
If I'm going teams are even, quarterback, Sean Payton will be a difference maker for the Saints.
I'll split the tie here, and I'll vote with Elle, because as much of a difference maker as a coach can be, and no disrespect to you, if I've got Aaron Rodgers, I don't care who the coach is. Aaron Rodgers is the best player out of this entire group, and there are a lot of really good ones involved, and Brees obviously is walking directly into the Hall of Fame. I'll take Aaron Rodgers in that defense and take my chances. Meanwhile, Week 7 Monday Night Football matchup coming your way tonight. Tom Brady and the unbeaten Patriots taking on Le'Veon, Sam Darnold, and the New York Jets. It's 8 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and on the ESPN app. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6.
Let's switch to the college ranks, shall we? Talking about Harbaugh losing, Penn State built a 21-0 lead over Michigan on Saturday and then hung on to win 28-21. Michigan falls to 5-2 on the year, 1-10 against top 10 opponents under Jim Harbaugh. Let's just continue to pile up on him because it's certainly popular to do that. Michigan also 0-8 as an underdog since Jim Harbaugh took over as head coach back in 2015. That is the most losses without a single win as an underdog in the entire FBS in that span. You walk away from that game, Dan, feeling what about Jim Harbaugh?
The same I felt before the game. I think it's really going to be really easy for everyone to pile on Harbaugh right now. This is a team that went down 21-0, right? And claws its way back into the football game. And really it's a tough drop away from tying this game at 28. So I was more kind of impressed by the resolve of the football team. It would have been easy if this program was in an awful place. That team would have quit on Jim Harbaugh. Tough place to play, really good football team. The fact that they're a drop away from coming back and having almost an incredibly impressive comeback. It's the bad timing of this loss, but I'm not going to sit here and pile on Harbaugh. I walked away from that game way more impressed with Penn State than having.
They went down 21-0. Doesn't that tell you they weren't prepared for that game? And
no, Penn State's
really,
really good. Like Penn State is very good, and that's why I'm taking more from Penn State. I think it's going to be convenient for people to crush Harbaugh because of the history.
Here's the thing, and I so disagree with you. I've known Jim since the early 90s. He was the quarterback of the Bears when I covered them. And I think he is a terrific coach.
Yeah.
But the reality is, no one is suggesting they're in a terrible place. You're saying if they were in a terrible place, they don't come back in that game. Jim Harbaugh didn't come there to take them from being in a terrible place to being a team that takes a moral victory out of a loss at Penn State. Jim Harbaugh is there to take that program back where the fan base and others who understand the history of college football believe it should be. And the reality is there are no moral victories when you do that. And if they lose to Notre Dame this week and they lose to Ohio State, which they will, that's 4 losses this season, and they needed overtime to beat Army. So that's not the standard that Jim Harbaugh was brought there to hold up.
That's a fair point. And I just look at that game and go, you know what? It's hard to get kids to play week in and out. In college football, they went down, they came back. They're a drop away from having the chance to pull off the upset.
Well, Desmond Howard will be here tomorrow. We'll talk more about this as we go. Meanwhile, here's a coach who does have his team doing that, but he did an interesting thing here. Rex, I want your opinion. That is Andrew Booth Jr. of Clemson. He's a corner. He was ejected for throwing that punch in the third quarter of the Tigers' win at Louisville on Saturday. Dabo Swinney decided after this that the player, Andrew Booth Jr., would have to ride the manager's bus home. So from Louisville, he went home on the bus while the rest of the team flew back on the team plane to Clemson. Like it or hate it? I
love it. This is Dabo Swinney. And this isn't just, this is not the first guy that he sent, on a Greyhound back. He does it at bowl games. If you disrespect the team, which he's clearly doing, he's thinking about himself and not his football team. Dabo wants to grow men, and that's what he does. He's the best coach in college football, in my opinion. Yeah, my bias, you're darn right. And by the way, all those rankings and all that kind of stuff, just keep disrespecting Clemson. They're going to win another one this year.
You did the game.
Yeah, I called that game, so obviously you get to call games, you get the opportunity to spend time with coaches. My expectations going into my conversation with Dabo were almost unrealistic, and he exceeded them. I mean, he is incredible. He says a couple things. I don't care if we win a bunch of national championships if I don't help these guys understand the importance of becoming a man. My job is to make a very loud world quiet for these young men. And this is an example of that. Like sometimes, I'm sure this young player Booth is not, a knucklehead. He's had a bad moment. But the most telling thing that he said to me was, how and what I say is the most important part of our program. How are you telling Booth this is not okay, and what are you doing to make sure he understands that? This is not a coach going, hey, man, you can't do that. It hurt our football team, and you have to come up at 5 o'clock in the morning and run a couple sprints. You embarrassed the football team. You've now embarrassed yourself.
There's a reason I sent my kid there, all right?
Yeah.
All the schools in the country. Why? Because I was blown away by him, as were you.
Yeah.
And I saw how genuine he was, and I'm like, wow. Like, this guy is special. And that was before they were winning all the national championships. But I knew it was just a matter of time before they did that. But he's a special guy. He cares. I took him there because he talked about his players the way I talk about mine. He cares about them.
By the way, according to MapQuest, it takes 6 hours and 50 minutes to get from Louisville to Clemson.
450 miles. You ever make a player take a bus home or anything when you were coaching?
No, but I will say this. A guy one time never took a test. Decided he's too good. He doesn't need to take the test. So I'm like, guess what? Don't worry about playing in this game. I'd cut him on the spot. So to me, that's what it is. But
Ruthless Rex.
Ruthless Rex. Now, was he a great player? He wasn't Jalen Ramsey.
Right, I was
going to
say.
Okay, if it was Jalen,
How
he'd
integral
still be
was he?
with Jalen. Don't you want to take the test with me? Like, I would have done that, you know. So.
All right, the fun is just starting here on ESPN today. SportsCenter comes your way 4 o'clock Eastern this afternoon with Hannah and John Anderson looking at the Patriots' guide to staying unbeaten tonight against the suddenly surging Jets. Could the tide be turning after Tua's injury, and on the eve of the NBA season, how the battle for LA will be won? All that and more. SportsCenter 4 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Meanwhile, we hope you will get up with us tomorrow morning. Tom versus time. Highlights and post-game reaction following the Jets and Patriots. How will Tua Tagovailoa's injury impact Alabama going forward? And I'll tell you what, it's time for the NBA to make a huge change. I mean, an absolutely huge change in the sport tomorrow. All that and more. Get up with us, 8 Eastern on ESPN.
Make it happen.